Claudius of Turin was the main defender of iconoclasty, the removal of images, the removal of idolatry. So as a bishop, he has to literally take a sword and go fight the Moors. But that wasn't his biggest fight. His biggest fight was about the use of images. Here's what he says: as soon as I came to Italy, which he's calling this area Italy, I found all the basilicas filled in defiance of God's law with those sluttish abominations images. Since everyone was worshiping them, I undertook single-handedly to destroy them. So he comes as the appointment for the appointed by the emperor, but he comes and he starts to walk through the streets. He's openly cursed. He has threats on his life, all because he's opposing the Pope and the use of images. And so other people, especially this Theodore, start to spread rumors throughout the empire that he's teaching these false doctrines because he's trying to push up the Pope. And so the doctrines that he charges them with is aversion to the veneration of images and the cross. He rejects papal supremacy. He rejects penitential pilgrimages to Rome, and he rejects intercession of the saints. Again, this is in 810 or something like that, way before the Reformation, but these are the same issues: sola Christus, sola Scriptura. So then they start this other charge that the Jews say that he's more of a Jew than they are, and that his religion is basically Judaism. And then they say that he's with the Saracens, which is another sect of Muslims. And so there's all these rumors about what an evil man Claudius is. He also eliminated the feast days because they had like 320 days out of 365 were associated with various saints. He eliminates that off the calendars. And so he's charged with this before the Pope. Claudius's response is, these are vain observations and a useless custom. So finally he's called before a council to deal with the false teaching, and he refuses to go. Remember, he's the emperor's man. The emperor has real power too. So even though the Pope says you have to show up, he says, I'm not showing up. So instead what he does is he writes an apology. And in his apology, which apology means argument, right? So he writes an argument as to what the charges against him are false. And what he starts with is he says, no, all the charges against me are true, except for the one about pilgrimages. I'm not sure whether pilgrimages are good or bad. I think they're probably just a waste of money. And so another bishop, the Bishop of Orleans, Jonas, writes, after 15 years, he writes these charges that about who Claudius was, and basically tries to get him excommunicated. The problem is, he's the emperor's man. The Pope doesn't have that much power. The Pope doesn't want to test his power by trying to excommunicate him, because that might, if the emperor doesn't honor it, that just reduces the power of the Pope. So all these political games are going on. So with the support of Louis, who's now Louis the Pious is what he was called, partly because of Claudius and his teaching, and that he was promoting the sending out of these commentaries. But I wanted to read a short bit of his apology, his response to Theodemir. Your letter of chatter and dullness, together with the essay subjoined to it, I have received from the hands of the bumpkin who brought it to me. It is not I who teach a sect, I who really hold the unity and preach the truth. On the contrary, as much as I have been able, I have suppressed, crushed, fought, and assaulted sects, schisms, superstitions, and heresies. As much as I am still able, I do not cease to do battle against them, relying wholeheartedly on the help of God. I found all the churches filled in defiance of the precept of truth with those sluttish abominations, images. Since everyone was worshipping them, I undertook single-handedly to destroy them. Everyone thereupon opened his mouth to curse me, and had not God come to my aid, they would no doubt have swallowed me alive. But if those who have abandoned the cult of demons now venerate the images of the saints, they have not deserted their idols, but have merely changed the name. Surely if men may be venerated, it is the living rather than the dead who should be so esteemed. That is where God-likeness is present, not where there is the likeness of cattle, or even worse of stone or wood, all of the like which lack life, feeling, and reason. But if the works of God's hands must not be adored and worshipped, one should ponder carefully how much less are the work of man's hands to be adored and worshipped. So you can hear, he's going back, he's using scripture, He's making an argument about why it's evil, why it's demonic. It sounds very Augustinian, because Augustine wrote about the same thing, about how demons would take over the Jupiter and Mars. And he's saying, and if you make it Peter and Paul, the demons will be happy to pretend to be them as well. So it's just, there is always a church, and the church continues. And even when you see the corruption in Rome, which is further than we can imagine, how corrupt and perverse the Roman Catholic Church is, you still have faithful men that stand bold and will stand for the truth. And God protects him. And he protected him because he just happened to be the pastor of the King Louis of Aquitaine before he became the Holy Roman Emperor. And when he became pastor, there were 2 older brothers. He never thought that he was becoming pastor of the emperor, but God worked it out that he did.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also visit www.discerninghistory.com for more videos and other resources.